Welcome to another exciting episode of the KIMI Show. This is the show where we explore the vibrant world of Japanese pop culture every single week. We take a deep dive into the colorful realms of Japan's music, anime, fashion, film, and cuisine. I am Jeremiah. Your host today is Kimi Kato, and here he is. Hey,
Hello.
Kimi.
Hi. Hi, Jeremiah. Hi, everyone.
How you doing this week?
Very good. Thank you. How have you been?
I've had a busy week, but I'm not complaining at all. It's been a lot of fun.
Wonderful.
Back and
Yep.
forth from Santa Barbara to LA, a lot of good music. A
Great.
lot of good music today. The soundtrack is incredible that putting this together. Can't wait to talk about it with our guest. Who is our guest
Yeah.
today, Kimmy?
Yeah. So we have someone very special today. Um, get ready to jump around because we're about to dive into the world of Summer Sonic, one of the biggest major summer festivals in Japan. So please give a warm welcome to Rob Kelso from Creativeman Productions.
Hello, everyone.
It's our big
Hello,
audience.
everyone. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you for having me. Good to be here.
Welcome, Rob.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming onto the show.
Of course. Good
Um,
to see you again.
it's great
Been
to
a
see
while.
you. Yeah, it's been a while, but we saw each other. We bumped into each other at the Pony Canyon USA
Yep.
press conference. But yes,
Kimmy,
yes, sir.
Kimmy,
Yeah,
curious minds want to know how long have you guys known each other before you get started?
I'd say good 20 years.
Yep.
That's a,
I'm sure at least
Easily,
that. Yeah.
easily 20. No, I'd say 25 years
Maybe.
because
Yeah.
definitely 25 years because I was working with Creative Man since 2000.
Okay.
so
Yeah.
in music business years, is that like 50 years?
No, music. I say 1 year.
1 year. Okay.
No,
It goes the other,
yeah,
it goes the
it's
opposite way.
yeah, it
Okay.
goes by like a flash. So 25 years have gone like a flash. Um, yeah, so here's Rob. Rob Kelso is the director of US operations for Creative Man Production in Japan. So for everyone that don't know Creative Man Production, which many may not, Creative Man Productions was established in 1991 and is one of Japan's most prominent concert promoters and producers of Summer Sonic Music Festival and other festivals, um, like Punk Springs in the spring. Summer Sonic started in 2000, so it's 25 years, in Tokyo and Osaka. During one weekend each summer, uh, they host the biggest names in music around the world. So it's an international music festival focused a lot on international artists. And Rob has been the bridge in bringing many international artists from new artists to popular global superstars to Japan. He started his career as a talent buyer and tour coordinator for Creativeman Productions Summer Sonic Festival. He is now in charge of performance contacts and settlements as the director of US operations for Creativeman Productions in Japan. So Rob, I know I've known you for probably 25 years, but how did you get into this business in the first place? What
Yeah,
brought
but
you to working for a Japanese tour promoting company for 25 years? That is the first question I'd love to ask you.
yeah, that's the first question many people ask me as well. Yeah. Life is strange. It was never planned. I was graduating college and I really wanted a job in the music industry, and this company had a lawyer in LA that was trying to help them make deals and stuff. And he was doing it, but he was spending too much time doing it. So I reconnected with him, and he made the mistake of saying that, oh, there's this Japanese company that might need someone. And so I just pestered the guy until he hired me. And honestly, I had booked shows in college, but a very small level. And I certainly had never taken a band internationally. But I was aggressive, and this is, prior to email. This is the fax machine was our our main tool.
Right.
So I was calling agents and telling them who we are, and they were like, "No, you're too small for us." But I just kept pestering them until they eventually gave us some artists, and we grew
Oh
and grew
wow.
and grew from there.
That's the beginning of Creative Man. So you joined Creative Man Productions as the US contact for international artists coming into Japan.
Yes.
Obviously, nobody in the music industry in the United States knew who Creative Man Production was in '91.
Nope.
So I guess, it was very difficult and challenging for Creative Man to actually book international artists shows in Japan, while promoters like Udo or Kyoto, I guess those
Yes.
were or HIP, they
Mhm.
were the major, or what else? Smash, I guess, were one of the key players back then as well. But now, I guess after 25 years, I think Creative Man is one of the most prominent tour concert booking promoters in Japan. I have actually worked with Rob and Creative Man for about 25 years now and have definitely had a blast. I worked on almost in tandem with I would say in tandem with Creative Man to break artists like bands like Sum 41, artists like Andrew WK, Lady Gaga, Taylor Swift. All the artists, most of the artists that I worked on, somehow we had this relationship with Creative Man that I would think about the marketing plan and promotion plan. And I always think about how do I get Creative Man involved so that we can get the artists in the market in Japan to do shows and build it up so that they would even help us organize these showcases for artists so that we then get them onto either Summer Sonic or or one of their festivals ahead or even a concert. So, um, in what ways do you think Creative Man Productions evolved along the
Mhm.
way from a tiny Creative Man Productions concert promoting company
Yeah,
to a
it was a real tiny punk rock, doing 500 seat shows at Club Quattro and stuff like
yeah
that. Going to Club Cheetah in Kawasaki, doing shows there. Um, and really what took us to the next level was developing the festival system, because back in 1999, festivals were just starting to happen around the world.
hmm
And Coachella, the first Coachella was just happening then. Um, People were seeing festivals for the first time again. Um, and people were loving them, enjoying them. And we were lucky enough, we saw what Smash was doing with Fuji Rock and said, we need a festival as well. And we came in very aggressive to do that. And our first festival was a festival called Beautiful Monsters in 1999. And looking back at it, it was just a mess. It was just a mess. But if you talk to other festival people, they're like, yeah, our first one was a mess. It always is. You got a learning curve. And then we went to Summer Sonic in the year 2000, and that's when we were able to really use that tool to break more artists in the territory that normally couldn't get in for a showcase tour or a real tour. And that, if you look at the first Summer Sonic, it's kind of amazing because Coldplay and Sugar Ross opened up the second stages. It, they were tiny little bands back then, and now they're giant
monsters. Yeah.
stadium monster tours. You know, it's just a wonderful experience to go through.
Well, congratulations. That's an amazing journey for you to be at Creative Man Productions for so long, and have grown together, I guess, to become such a huge event that all the artists around the world would love to get on Summer Sonic. I always try to find a way of getting the artists I was working on Summer Sonic would plan my marketing plan so that I have that Summer Sonic slot, and I always would convince the artist, the management company, or the agents that we need Summer Sonic. So please, please keep that that slot open, which is always the second week of August, and I would have the artists make sure that that slot is open for Summer Sonic. Then we would always think about a tour, a headline tour in the fall. So that was my generic plan that tend to work.
KIMI, can I jump in with a couple
Let's
questions on
go.
that?
Yeah.
Well, Rob, first, what was like the biggest mistake that you remember from that first, the mess? What happened that was just disastrous, or did anybody see it? Was it something you guys corrected?
Do you mean the first
Yeah,
summer
for your
Sonic?
uh-huh.
I think our biggest mistake was that we were in the wrong venue. The first year we had gotten a really large ice skating rink. It was summertime. It was August. We got a really large ice skating rink across the street from a huge amusement park, and
called Fuji-Q Highlands.
Yeah, Fuji-Q Highlands. Yes, and
I was there.
It was just too hard to get the audience there. It was, getting the artist there was fine, but there was not really anywhere to stay. There was no really good transportation system to get people out there, and so we did that for 2 years at that venue, and then we went, no, we're moving to Tokyo.
So that's something I wouldn't think about. You're right though. You got to have hotels and restaurants and things around, right? Parking and all that when
infrastructure.
You have a big festival infrastructure. KIMI, the second question was for you. What would you say your position was at that time where you're like, you guys had such a great relationship and you wanted to make sure you got your acts, your artists booked through Rob? What was your position back then? And then, I mean, what would you call yourself? A music manager or
I was a product manager, like
product manager?
any other
Okay.
product manager who would be in charge of releases and artists for that
So
particular release.
Why were you so attracted to Rob and working together and booking your artists through there? What was the big draw there? Was it just you guys saw things the same way, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, that definitely. And also the fact that Rob and his team and everyone at Creativeman in Japan, they're great people to work with. I just, it's with anything that I've done, it was always teamwork, right? There's nothing that I've done by myself or without anybody else. It's always been a team effort, and when you're working with your own team, that's hard enough, but then you have to work with other components of breaking an artist and touring, and visibility of the artist's presence is massive. It's huge. So you need to have the artist come into Japan. Obviously, do shows ideally, not just promotion, and not doing just in-territory promotion, but do performances and get the artist to perform at shows or do headline shows or participate in a festival. So that's a key factor, and I always kind of had this good relationship with the team at Creativeman. Pretty much everyone at Creativeman was always very positive at the new artists, especially new artists that I was working on, which had no presence in Japan. Nobody knew the artists. Like artists like Sum 41, nobody knew back then in 2000 when they just debuted, and I was working on their album. That's an example. They would pick it up. They would say, "Yeah, let's do it," and they would do the first Club Quattro show in Shibuya, sold out. All the Quattro shows sold out like immediately. So those things, come hand in hand. We work together so that we market the album and the show together. I don't know if that happens quite often internationally, but we definitely worked very close together so that I would have Creativeman listen to the artists that I worked on. If they like it, they would start contacting the agents. Rob would then negotiate and book the artists coming into Japan.
Wow. So what do you really, we got to take a break, and then after you
Yeah.
you don't mind, after you answer this, we'll take that break. But what quality about Rob, what does he have that you just, that really makes him just excellent and the go-to, and his
I think
and his
personality is his
yeah.
personality. He's the guy that's uh fixing everything, but never exposing himself. You know what I mean? He's always behind the scene. That's sneaky guy that fixes everything.
He's the fixer.
Yeah, but never out. He doesn't like to expose himself too much.
Rob, what about working with Kimmy? Same thing. What do you like? Why have you, you guys have a long history. I'm just
Yeah,
curious why.
we have a long history, but we also worked in kind of parallel channels. So he would be working the management side and I would be working the agent side. The goal was the same, but since I'm in LA and he was in Japan, he would be talking to the people in our Tokyo office, which was good. And then I would hear from them going, we need this to come here. And then that's just me calling agents and managers and going out to find these bands to do it. So it's a good teamwork because I couldn't, or the whole Creativeman team can't do their job without the product managers supporting them and coming to them first. Because had any of the product managers go to our competitor, and sometimes they do, and sometimes our competitors are better. Because if you gave me a classical record, there's really nothing I don't know where that audience is. Whereas the product manager will know that. He'll know, like, oh, this artist is going to be better for this other promoter because they do classical stuff, whereas we're the rock and roll hip hop company. So yeah, we work together parallel as a team.
Yeah, and with that much history, I imagine that you almost can talk to each other without speaking. You know what you're looking for, and you have that that really good
Mhm.
relationship together. Well, we got to take a break, Kimmy. What are we listening to on the way out?
Okay, Rob, do you want to introduce that song?
Yeah, this is a really special song. This was a surprise performance at Summer Sonic. It's Rick Ashley joining the Foo Fighters on stage to do Never Gonna Give You Up. And when it happened, my social media exploded like I've never seen before. Everybody wanted a copy of this when it happened. It was amazing.
Okay, stay tuned to Never Gonna Give You Up by Rick Astley and the Foo Fighters. You're listening to the KIMI KATO Show.
Nice.